So welcome to the first of what we hope is many installments on the mortgage side of real estate. Got my good friend Matt Brown from Encompass Lending here.
Hi,
Appreciate
Peter.
you being here.
Yes, sir.
And so the idea behind these, and they'll be different each time, is to go over what we think are, questions that are being asked today, right now, from potential buyers and even sellers, but mainly buyers and stuff, since it's a mortgage side and stuff like that. And the reason I say right now is because this is different than if it was 2 years ago, if it was 2020, whatever.
Right.
That kind of stuff. So we hope you will enjoy watching this. We also hope that if you've got other questions for us, put them in the comment section, because we will definitely answer any questions. And if you want a topic for us to talk about on later videos, put them in the comment section. We'd love to know that, because we want to make this something that's valuable, that you go, oh, I didn't know this part, that kind of deal. So, So first on the list is, if rates drop later, am I going to regret buying now? We hear that a lot. And of course, I think part of the piece is, where rates were. We were very much conditioned to think 3% was the norm. It is not. Rates are actually still at a really good, they've come down. They're at a good level.
Right. Yeah.
Compared to the 7+ that we were at before.
Right.
And so trying to, it starts off by saying, as you've mentioned, you want to make sure that you're finding the right house, because you can always refi a mortgage.
Right. And we talk about this all the time. Marry the home, date the rate.
Yeah.
Marry the home, date the interest rate. The key is getting the home and making the timing right for you. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball. We have no idea where this market's going to be. We thought rates were going to be in the 5s a year ago, and we're still waiting.
We did.
So yeah, we did. So right now rates are in the low 6s for conventional, high 5s for government loans with the VA and FHA. So, I mean, we're in a really good market right now. I'm in my 25th year. Next month will be my 25th year. And went and looked back, and most of the years that I did business were,
it's higher than that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we 5.75 to 6.25 is about where the market is. So we're actually in a real normal market right now. But you don't know that if you're coming out of COVID. And the big challenge for us on the mortgage side and your side, hey, Matt, I'm sitting on a 3.25 mortgage right now. Why do I want to sell my house and get into a 7% mortgage? Why do I want to double my mortgage for principal and interest? And so that's been the big objection that we've had, is not the price of the homes. It's been the affordability piece.
Yeah.
And insurance has gone sky high. That doesn't help.
And that's the bigger affordability problem.
It is
the insurance side. And not trying to beat up on them, but that's the bigger driver of your payment being higher.
Right.
Is that part. And I always find it fascinating when I'm talking to folks that are renting, and we've seen a change in that side of it. But when folks go, oh my gosh, I don't want to, have a 7% interest rate buying a home. You're at 100% interest rate renting. Tell me, understand why that's a good thing.
This is 93% better,
Yeah. Now some people will say, hey, I don't really have to worry about things. It's not my home.
Right.
But I also think the drawback to that is it's not your home, meaning you also can't do things you want to do to the home also.
You've got taxable write-offs for the principal and interest, the interest on the loan, taxable write-offs for the property taxes. And so, and you're getting appreciation every year. So you're building some equity into an appreciable asset. Just renting, there's nothing gained.
And I think the biggest key, again, goes back to, just because you get a 30-year mortgage doesn't mean you're stuck with that mortgage rate or the interest rate for 30 years.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I think right now the trend is most people stay in a home 7 to 10 years max.
Right.
It may be job, it may be family gets bigger, maybe family gets smaller, whatever, downsizing, whatever it might be. But, I think folks have to stop looking at it only from oh my gosh, I have to do this for 30 years. And what if it changes? If it changes, there's a way to refi, and you have some cool things for your customers.
We do.
That are looking to refi.
Yeah. So we have a no lender fee refinance up to 3 years after our closing.
Big time. Which
is a big deal, because lender fees, we're $1,740 on our lender fees. Very typical, very average for the industry. But you take that off the table, and now you're just paying for an appraisal and your title company charges. And, so when we refinance, we roll those closing costs back into the loan amount.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you show up at closing and sign.
Yeah.
It's very, very simple. And so that's one of the enticing things that we have to want to recapture our business.
And I think the biggest key is too many people rely only on the price of a home, and you don't buy a home based. I mean, you might think of it when you're searching, but you don't truly buy a home based on the price. You buy it on the monthly payment anyways.
Correct.
And so if we have avenues to be able to bring down the interest rate when it makes sense,
yes,
that's great. The other quick thing was just talking about buy downs that you have. Well, sellers used it. We used it a lot with sellers to be able to help, because it makes it's actually a substantial, change.
Significant.
Yeah.
And, I think last year I did 9 of them, 2-1 buy downs, almost one a month. It was a big deal, because what that is it's got to be, it's a temporary buy down that's paid for by the seller.
Yes.
Has to be paid for by the seller. And what it is let's say today the interest rate is 6%, and you do a 2-1 buy down. So in year 1, your interest rate is at 4%. So 2% less. In year 2, 1% less at 5%. And then in year 3, you're back to 6.
Yes.
In 3 to 30 years, you're back to 6%.
Yeah.
But what a great program that is because basically the seller's paying for that prepaid interest on those payments. And we talked about this. You and I have. $400,000 or $500,000 loan. You're talking about $600.
It's a big
$600 a month difference in that first year. So what we've seen over these last few years is that people don't have an issue. Well, we all have issues about price, but people don't have as much of an issue about the sales price as they do the affordability piece.
Sure.
That's what's holding people back.
Yeah.
We've got so many people on the sidelines that are just sitting and chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
But when this market turns around, which we think is going to be turning,
it's already started.
Turning. Yeah.
It's already started.
We talked about this prior. My last couple of weeks, here we are early to mid-March, and it feels like already a late April to May. I mean, it already feels like I've got a 45-day head start than what we did last year at this time.
Yeah, and we've seen it too on
activities
showings.
Really picked up.
That has done it.
What a great sign, because now people are like, hey, this is more of a normal market. Now I can put my house on the market and I feel comfortable enough to move forward. Yeah. Because, again, we talked about this. I'm in a 3.25% mortgage. Why would I sell my house and get into a 7%? And, why would I want to double my principal and interest payments? So that's been the big objection that we've had. Yep. And again, we would go back to say, hey, marry the home, date the interest rate. Yeah, it's 7%, but this isn't going to be like this forever. This market's going to find its level.
Well, and again, I think the other key is, back in the 2020 craziness, you had people that overpaid for homes. And I've made this comment many a times. It is way worse to overpay for a home than to have a higher interest rate, because we can fix the higher interest rate when it makes sense.
It's exactly right.
We can't change the price.
Right. And we saw this in droves where you had people coming from, California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois. I mean, flooding our markets and coming here flushed in cash. Yeah.
It didn't matter.
Didn't matter. They would, Austin has really taken a hit. Last year, Austin's valuations have gone down over 30%. Yeah. That's significant, because it's tough because they're coming into our market and overpaying $50,000 to $100,000 for a house that they really like, because that house is significantly nicer than the small house that they're coming from in California. Here in Texas,
it's a mansion.
It's a mansion. It's a mansion at 3,500 square feet with a pool. That's that $350,000 house is 1.6 million in California.
That's where I wish I could pick up my house and move it to
California. Location.
All right. So this talked about, next one on the list was, are sellers actually negotiating again, or is it just hype? And I mean, I think sellers have been doing a lot of that. I think the big key is some of that is slowly going to start going away as we're seeing more buyers that enter the market.
We're seeing
because the sellers are going to realize, I don't have to.
People are knocking on my door, wanting to look at my house.
And that goes back to, again, when we say not waiting, okay, I can't stress enough, we're not trying to be pushy salespeople. Right. We're being honest.
We're being honest because we've lived this for the last 25 years.
And the reason I say it that way is because when we have more buyers, the price will go up. This isn't realtors doing something or lenders doing something.
This is supply and demand. This is supply and demand. The more entries into the market, the higher the demand, the higher the price goes up.
It's with anything.
Right.
It's right. And so what we're trying to say is, if you don't wait and you go ahead and get into something now before that demand goes crazy, because in 2020, little bit different concept. We didn't have the inventory, so it made it even worse.
Correct.
But I mean, we had a listing in Pearland that we had 18 offers on.
Jeez.
And I know people that had worse than that, meaning more offers than that.
Yeah.
And so, especially when you're trying to help a buyer get, the best deal possible.
Right.
And the best deal possible isn't just price.
Right.
The best deal possible is terms. It's what are you getting? It's that whole thing wrapped together.
Right.
But, if you're up against 18 people, we had a lot of things that changed of what we would consider customary or norms.
Right.
A seller paying for a title policy and all that, to where all of a sudden the buyer go, oh, no, I'm not going to make you do that. I'll pay for that.
Right.